What impact will all this have on the Patriots as a team?
As a team, I don't think it will. I mean, there's obviously, I know the head trainer, Jim Whalen there, and if there was any type of head injury or concussion that Tom Brady suffered, he would have been put in the protocol. And I think you have to understand what type of control the players still have. We have control as to if it's a mild concussion and we can just shake it off, that's where we will continue to play. And you have to be naive to think all the years, even 1 year of football for Tom last year, that he wouldn't have suffered a concussion, a mild concussion, get his bell rung, which is also an altering of your mental state, which basically is a concussion. Now, if I'm going home and I'm sitting on the couch and my wife asks me, "What's wrong, honey?" And I say, my head hurts a little bit. I just took a shot during the game. And if your wife has any education on what a concussion is, which sounds like Giselle does, she probably figures, puts one and one together equals 2. That was a concussion. So she takes note. Wives know a lot more than trainers know sometimes.
Yeah, I would say, if you think about tackle football, Stephen A., tackle football is inherently dangerous. That's never going to change. And, of course, guys get their bell rung. Tedy, as you just said, there's stingers. People know what a stinger is, temporary paralysis. You get to the side and the coach is like, all right, shake it off and go back in the game. You can't move your extremities for a second, and you're supposed to keep playing. So I agree, Tedy. I think it's more likely that Tom Brady hit this from the Patriots than the Patriots hit it from the league. But the effect on the Patriots is going to be that the fans are going to feel that they're persecuted as usual if this becomes an issue, because they have this, for some reason, persecution complex. And I think the larger point is that it points to the reason that quarterbacks aren't good after the age of 41. This stuff adds up, and I think it's adding up for Tom Brady, Stephen A.
Rather than a statement, I have a question for you, Tedy. How plausible is it that Tom Brady had concussions, and whether the doctors or the team trainers or whomever knew nothing about it?
I think it's very possible because, if something has happened on the field, and Max, I know your example of suffering a stinger and going to the sideline and then getting checked out and going back out there, that happens on the field and you don't come out. You see, stingers happen on the field, and there have been many, even myself, you don't come out. You've got that 30 to 40 seconds before the next play, and that nerve will eventually stop firing, and you'll stop feeling that fire in your arm or whatever. And so if you get your bell rung, Stephen A., you have enough time to clear your head. Usually you think you have enough time to where you don't even have to go to the sideline, and you've moved on by then. But since you've suffered that, there's the concussion, there's what you think that you've gotten over, and you don't really reflect on it until you get home.
Well, what do you say to people's speculation that it's Tom Brady that we're talking about, and if you're the New England Patriots, you're certainly not trying to play without him. Certainly you want to care about him enough to make sure that he's okay, but at the same time, are you really going to be dogged in your quest to protect him at all costs to the point where it could ultimately have him removed from a game? Some people might be inclined to think that this is Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. One person goes out, another person goes in. Sit in there and deal with it. If you don't make a big deal out of it, we're not going to. They can look at the Patriots and accuse them of such a thing. As a former member of the organization, what would you say to that?
I guess I would speak to the integrity of the medical staff, and me going through a lot of things myself over the course of my career and how they handled me, and that if there was something that Tom would go to that medical staff and say, you know what, I got my bell rung, I'm not feeling right now, he would automatically enter that protocol of Jim Whalen, who's the head trainer, the doctors that are there. Based on my experience, I feel they have that type of integrity.
How do you feel about the culture of that, Tedy? Because you're playing a sport where you can't, if you complain every time something hurts, what are you kidding? Something's got to hurt after just about every play. So how do you figure that out in terms of where you draw the line of actually telling the trainer, like, this is a little bit different, you know?
That's a good question, yeah.
Because in the media, we're like, oh my God, he didn't report it to the team, or the team didn't report it to the league. But there's always something wrong with someone or with everyone all the time. So how do you negotiate that?
I think it depends on, Max, the toughness of the player and also the awareness of the player. I played with Tom, and Tom's probably, I would consider, part of the older generation, to where you know, I have the information, but there's a certain amount of toughness I need to exhibit to be there for my team. And even though it's a head injury, I know it's going to subside. I know this one wasn't that bad. In terms of the new generation of players that have that type of awareness and that type of, almost that courage to go to the sideline and say, I got my bell rung a little bit. And then all of a sudden, if a trainer has said that, you get put into the protocol. So am I saying that the newer age of players is less tough? Sure, I may say that, yes. But I'd also say the newer age of player is more aware and willing to do that to the trainers. And I will say this to the whole Giselle argument, and then her saying about the concussions. These wives, you have to understand what they go through. They go through things. I mean, they love their husbands with all their heart, and to see what we go through at home. They hear us when we roll over at night and we grunt and they know why we're grunting and why we're cringing in pain, why we have to get up from the bed and maybe walk the house and watch some film at odd hours of the night, because they know what we're going through. They know the pain we're going through, and so that we disclose to them. And that we disclose, we'll let them know, but we can't let the trainers know, because it's just something that they would, I don't want to say overreact, but that concussion protocol, once you go into that and those phases, I think they're now aware of how much delay it's going to take for you to get into that, to get back onto the field. And I will say this, the last thing I'll say is, at the end of every season, when you assess everything, all players sit down with their wives and they consult them. Well, at least I did. I can speak to that. And that wife that may have all of those concerns, her opinion is taken into account greatly.